there, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about a challenge that I know drives a lot of academic writers crazy: how to make your English writing sound less like a translation and more like the natural, professional stuff you read in all the top journals. So, let's jump right in. Does this sound familiar? You've got these brilliant ideas. You know your research inside and out, but when you put it down in English, something just feels a little off. It's a super common problem, especially if your first language has a totally different structure. That word-for-word translation, it can end up sounding pretty awkward. Just take a look at this. On the left, that phrase, by her own, is a classic literal translation. You can see the logic, but in everyday English, it's just not right. The natural, correct way to say it is right there on the right. She completed the analysis herself. See? It's these small changes that make a huge difference, and that's exactly what we're going to get good at today. So our goal for this explainer is really simple. I want to give you a few powerful, easy-to-use tools to fix some of the most common mistakes. We're going to work on shifting your writing from being just understandable to being really clear, confident, and professional. Okay, let's get started with our first quick fix. This one is all about how we talk about doing things by ourselves. I like to call it fixing your self-talk, and it's all about getting to know one particular type of word. And here they are, reflexive pronouns. The absolute easiest way to think about these is to call them mirror words. Words like myself, yourself, and itself, they always reflect back to whoever or whatever is doing the action in the sentence. It's like they're looking in a mirror. So, here's a classic example. A direct translation might give you, by my hand, but in English that sounds really unnatural, almost poetic or old-fashioned. Instead, we use our mirror word. You wouldn't say by my hand, you just say, I wrote the report myself. It's so much cleaner and more direct. And here's that other one again, by her own. In English, that's kind of like an incomplete thought. The correct mirror word is herself. But what's really cool here is that you actually have options. She completed it herself is perfect. Or you could say, she completed it on her own, which also works and means she did it without any help. So really, it boils down to this. These mirror words have two main jobs. First, they show that the subject is doing an action to itself. Think about the researcher prepared herself for the talk. She is doing the preparing, and she is the one being prepared. And second, they're used for emphasis to really underline that the action was done alone. When you say, she analyzed the data herself, you're saying she did it, not her assistant, not her colleague. All right, let's move on to the big one. For so many people, especially if your native language doesn't have them, articles, the little words an, and the, can feel like a complete mystery. But I promise they're not random. There's a logic to it, and we're going to crack that code together. Instead of trying to memorize 1,000 different rules, let's just make it simple. Every single time you write a noun and you're not sure about the article, just ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, am I talking about a specific thing or just a general idea? Number 2, is this the first time I'm mentioning this thing? And number 3, could this be one of those weird exceptions, like a country name or a unique place? And this table right here, this is basically your cheat sheet. It lays out the core logic perfectly. You use the for specific things, like the second time you mention a noun, or when there's only one of something, like the sun, or with words like highest or best. Then you use a or an when it's just one of many non-specific things, like the first time you mention it, or if you're talking about a job, like she is a geologist. And finally, you often use no article for really general stuff, like plural nouns in general, or big abstract ideas like research. And if there's one thing to remember, it's this: context is everything. It's the absolute key. Look at this example. When you say research shows, you're talking about research as a big general concept, the entire field of research. No article needed. But the second you say the research was conducted, you're now talking about a specific project, one that both you and your reader know about. That little word the points directly to it. Okay, we've sorted our pronouns, we've started to crack the article code. Now it's time for the final polish. This is what takes your writing from just being correct to being truly sophisticated and, honestly, just easier to read. It's all about building better sentences. First up, we have the building block of everything, the simple sentence. Now, simple doesn't mean it's basic or for beginners. It just means it contains one single complete thought, one subject, one verb. Like the example here, it's absolutely perfect for stating a clear, undeniable fact.
So, the next level up is the compound sentence. This is where you take two complete thoughts, two simple sentences really, and you connect them with a joining word like and, but, or so. This is awesome for showing how two equally important ideas relate to each other, like a sequence of events.
And finally, we get to the complex sentence. This is where your writing gets really nuanced. You have one main independent thought, but you add a secondary idea that depends on it, usually starting with a word like because, if, or although. This is how you show cause and effect, contrast, and all that good detailed stuff. Now, a quick warning about a super common mistake. It's called a comma splice. You just can't connect two full sentences with only a comma. It doesn't work. But the good news is, it's incredibly easy to fix. As you can see, you've got options. You can add a little word, like and, you can use a semicolon for a stronger connection, or you can just make them two separate sentences with a period. All of them are perfectly correct. So wow, we've covered a lot of ground, right? From tiny little words all the way up to full sentence structures. So let's pull all of this together into a practical toolkit that you can use every single time you sit down to write or edit your work. Here it is, your 3-step writing check. It's that simple. First, check your pronouns. Scan for those phrases like by my hand and swap them for the correct mirror word, like myself. Second, question your articles. Every time you see a noun, ask yourself, is this specific or general? That one question will guide you. And third, vary your sentences. Look at a paragraph. Is it all short, choppy sentences or long, winding ones? Mix it up. Use simple, compound, and complex sentences to create a really nice rhythm for your reader. And that brings us to the end. We've built a pretty powerful little toolkit here with 3 really effective ways to improve your academic writing. So my question for you is, as you think about your next report or your next paper, which one of these tools are you going to focus on using first? Thanks so much for watching.